WD Schock Shad Turner Design Santana 30. It has departed from the original design quite a bit. A couple things that are of note is the deck is not nearly the same as any other Santana 30s I think you're going to find out there. The rig is replaced. It is now still a sloop. It's a little bit taller, 41 feet, straight spreaders, double set, fractional rig. The boom originally was 9.8 feet, so now it is 13.4. And so quite a bit bigger. I want to say E dimension for the boom. J's 11.4. The forestay runs down actually through the bow to a load cell in the bottom, so you can actually set forestay tension with the running backs, which it does have when they converted it to a fractional rig. Anyway, let's get up here. Let's take a look at a few things we have done. Pretty standard boat. The pulpit, the forestay is wire, excuse me there. It does have nitronic 50 rod rigging, and so let's take a look at that, because that's not something you see every day. A little bit old school, but still very applicable. And so, pretty neat. And then it goes down to these massive chain plates, which run way down to the bottom, almost down to the keel of the boat. So extraordinarily strong. But let's just start at the bow here. You can see right now I've got it set up. We're working on a setup for an asymmetrical spinnaker, which actually works pretty good. So my tack line here, a block, Dyneema soft shackle, and so could be better, yeah, sure, but in the meantime that's what we're working with. This deck gripping, if you can see, although old, is probably the grippiest deck I've ever been on. You are not going to slip off, but it has some beautiful lines. Nice little hatch cover there. Does have a prop rod, very small tow rails, which can be pretty insufficient at times. As we come up, I'm not going to talk too much about the lines. There is a separate video if you want to see that. It's kind of towards the end of one, and if I remember, I'll kind of link that in the description. 2 sets of jib car tracks, inner and outer. I don't use the inners too much. The sheeting angle they produce is very very significant, very severe angle, and so it actually puts a ton of load on the deck, and I need to put some backing plates. There was a Spinnaker pole. You can kind of see where I need to clean it off, but the aft end of it connected down here. Pretty standard stanchions, just some polyester lifelines. We do have a 50-watt solar panel, and really all that does is keeps my 1 lead acid battery topped up, and that runs the autopilot. That's really it. Pretty nice mechanical boom kicker. That was an addition to the boat. Aluminum keel step mast, and so as we come around, you can see, obviously, keel step mast. We'll come on the inside here in just a second, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. But as far as line organization goes, Lumar clutches, 3 and 2 respectively, variant 22 winches, a myriad of cam clutches, and this here, you can't see it particularly well, and I'm not going to turn it on right now, is the load cell. And so it's kind of cool because you can get the same forestay tension as you set the running backs on each side. There is a lot of cockpit organization bags that we have. They just are inside right now because UV damage will kind of tear those things up. Lumar 40s, non-self-tailing winches up here, mainly for the jibs, and then Lumar 40 tailing winches in the back, and these are strictly for the running backs, which you can see run down to some shackles, some Dyneema line up to the mast. It is a tillered boat, of which I actually really like, and we'll step back here and you can actually see it is quite the cockpit. There is tons of space, plenty of room for crew. You can see there are 2 like bracing blocks in the cockpit, so as the boat heels over, you can really put your weight into it and lean back. Pretty nice little traveler setup. You have, oh my goodness, I want to say 6-to-1 main sheet, and then the reduction you can't see right now because of the myriad of lines is, I think it works out to like 32-to-1. It is so fine, it's almost too fine of an adjustment. We're not going to take them out right now, but as far as sails on the boat, we do have composite sails for the main and 100% jib. And then the older Kevlar sail, the 130% Genoa, is a little more worn out, but it is composite. As far as Spinnaker setup, let's go down, we'll take a look at that. We'll see if I can attach some images of the new asymmetrical setup. But we do have a fully symmetrical Spinnaker in this bag, 1/2 ounce light air Spinnaker. Let's see if I can open this up. There we go. But it is incredibly cool. Let's see if we can show you this. It's hard to read, but North sails east, September of '81. And for being a 1981, it is an incredible shape. Here is a UK sailmaker's asymmetrical Spinnaker with the sock. And that is a masthead Spinnaker, whereas this is up to the fractional. And so I am starting to fly this one a whole lot more just because I can do it single-handed, and it is so much easier. But anyway, let's set you all down over here. All right, so when we talked about the Nitronic 50 rod rigging earlier, one thing I mentioned was the giant chain plates, and so here they are, and they are big. They come down through the deck. You can see they're secured to the bulkheads. Additional bolts for the bulkhead down here near the settee or the bench, and then also further aft down here. I'm not sparing you the look down, but they go all the way down to the deck. So extraordinarily large chain plates, which is pretty amazing. And with Nitronic rigging, one of the few things I'm not worried about is the rig on this boat, especially for what I do. We have painted the inside of this boat. It was unpainted fiberglass. It is essentially Rust-Oleum enamel paint. And it's pretty basic, but that is the great thing about this boat is there is no major electrical system, no head. When you come to the boat, you come out to go sail, and that's it. You're not a plumber, you're not an electrician. Like I said, we only have one 12-volt lead acid battery, and we'll look at that now and go over some of those things. So here's really about the only technical compartment in the boat. And so we have a pretty minimalist circuit breaker panel over here, and really all we run from this off the battery is the deck lights and the autopilot. 4 winches. We do have a Renogy solar panel charge controller, and that just runs my 50-watt panel, which then goes down to the 12-volt lead acid battery, which runs the autopilot. So pretty straightforward. Like I said, nothing too complicated. There's a little bit of odds and ends that every boat collects over here, but otherwise, it's about as basic as it gets. All right, so we are standing in the forepeak of the boat now, and you are looking aft. So you can see the mast obviously right in your way. These boards, the longitudinal and lateral bulkheads, were added when they added the fin keel to the boat, which we'll go up and we'll talk about now. But you can see they add a ton of strength to the boat. Probably, in my opinion, one of the strongest 30-foot fiberglass hulls I have ever come across. Now, a key feature of this boat is not this painter's pole, but is what is beneath it. And so this is the top of the keel right here, and each one of these bolts essentially just secures it in place other than gravity, because there's a 1,500-pound lead bulb at the bottom. And so when the original owners of this boat got the idea that they were going to replace the keel with a high aspect ratio bulb keel, there was a lot of engineering and thought that had to go into it. And part of that was including the strengthening, because anytime you put a very heavy weight at the end of a long arm, you create an extraordinary moment, especially when you heel. You create a lot of riding moment, and so the strengthening of the hull had to be completed, and that's what this is. So tons of wood covered in fiberglass and integrated into the hull to add strength and rigidity to the boat and make sure it was able to handle those loads. And so the nice part about a high aspect ratio bulb kill is that it just creates a ton of lift for a minimal amount of drag, whereas you take a full keeled boat, you create a ton of drag and a moderate amount of lift. And so for a race boat, you want the most lift, the most work done by your keel for the least negative impact, which would be drag in this case. And so that's one of the things they did. It's kind of neat, it's kind of cool, makes this boat unique for sure. But otherwise, yeah, it's kind of an interesting boat. There's a lot of history to it. It's 1979, highly modified. Some guys really love to race it around the cans on windward leeward courses, and I'm having a good time doing it. And so we continually change things and are having a good time with it. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed the Schock 30 Santana Tour kind of update. I've tried this a few times. We're working on it. If you have questions, let me know, or if you have any knowledge of the history of WD Schock boats, definitely let me know as well. Anyway, thanks for coming out. Take care. Sail safe. See y'all. Bye.